So the intention is not to make a video every single day. However, whenever I take time to reflect and talk to ChatGPT, I'm like, I make some pretty good points. And then I realize, this would be a pretty good YouTube video. And then I realize, this is a pretty important part of the journey I still need to document. Um, so here are my daily reflections to profitability. Bang. So anyway, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of context for today, and I guess a mini kind of trade recap, a day recap on why I'm making this video. So I was looking for both longs and shorts on the day. Market open, we were continuing to the upside. Was looking to see these potential London highs get taken out before a reversal. However, all we ended up doing was continuing to validate this SMT, continue higher, then form an imposing SMT after taking out internal liquidity. And I was still looking for longs up to this point. I was looking to see price action continue to the upside before then reversing and taking out all this low resistance liquidity. However, right as we formed this internal SMT, which I did notice, however, I noticed I noticed the SMT, however, I noticed a change in state of delivery a little bit too late. Instead of executing with you guys don't know this, but my micro shift model, that's what I call it, right here, instead of getting my earliest entry pertaining to my first model for a 1 to 3 RR, I didn't notice because I thought we were simply just retracing a little in order to continue higher. And I failed to notice until we formed this full change in state of delivery to the downside. I still would have been able to catch 1 to 1.5R, which is great by all means. It's not bad at all, especially for a solid trade idea toward the drawn liquidity. Easy, right? However, I ended up noticing a little bit too late and got a tiny bit greedy. I didn't get greedy, but I was like, hey, I'd rather execute on a limit order retracement than execute just simply on the change in state of delivery right now. We were consolidating here. I wanted to see if price action can just, wick me in. So I had this 1 minute fair value gap, set my limit there. Trade idea looked just like this. Bang, bang. To the downside, you can see was like a tick away from getting filled. That was completely fine. Once price action began to displace lower, right upon here. So right in this 800 level, I canceled my limit order because pertaining to my model, what I have seen over the past 3-4 months, that upon the first initial strong displacement, price action 9 times out of 10 does not retrace to my entry. And oftentimes, upon the first strong initial displacement, it actually allows me an opportunity to scale in an additional contract or said contracts, however you want to say it, allowing me to trail my SL at the most validating recent high, swing high. So that would have been here, meaning I would have scaled in here, my SL would have been here, meaning I wouldn't even want to see myself get my order filled for a retracement, because that to me would then showcase a sign of a full reversal and a stop out rather than just simply wicking me in the trade. So I cancel my limit order, continue to follow my discipline, and if I show you guys my Notion journal right here, I promise this trade recap has huge context to today. But right here, you guys can see how it developed. You guys can't really see, but you can read that. This is a limit execution. I was bullish, blah, blah, blah. You could pause and read it. And I'll show you each image real quick because this is important to today's talk. And then I said, looks like I was right about displacing lower. However, no entry because we were looking to enter at the bearish fair value gap, blah, blah, blah. However, the trade idea was right and we just might have missed it. If we were chasing get an entry, it will also be a sign of a reversal higher. So this goes into knowing your model, and that takes time. I didn't realize I can scale in contracts or trail my SL properly or all these other things until 4 months after training my model. It took me time to actually be able to get an eye for my model. And these are some intuition things you'll start to develop as you continue to trade your model. You'll see what works, you'll see what doesn't, you'll see how your model continues to react, how it flushes to the drawn liquidity, or how it rallies to the drawn liquidity, how it displaces. With displacement, you're able to have confluence and confidence that price action will continue to your drawn liquidity. But you can pause and read all this right here. So cancel my limit order because I knew if price action reverses, it's going to stop me out, and I wasn't willing to pay the discipline tax. I've talked about this before, but the discipline tax of taking a loss that does not need to be taken. So I wasn't willing to do that. However, I was willing and will always be willing to journal a trade idea and have it backlogged. So if this situation ever does happen again in the future, then I have a reference knowing that I can still execute upon this because it's still within my model and I don't need to have my mind all over the place and miss a setup. Always, 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 if you think you are executing outside of your model, I personally would rather have you journal the trade and not actually execute upon it than execute upon it, have fear, doubt, and confliction during the trade idea, not knowing whether or not it's going to displace your drawn liquidity or stop you out because you're unsure of your data. Remember, your winning days is when you continue to collect. Your winning days count also for when you continue to collect data pertaining to your model. Originally, when I was talking to AI, and now this is the part where, this is why I'm recording this video. I wasn't upset at the fact that I missed this trade. However, I was more so maybe I should have been not more attentive, because I was attentive to the chart, but maybe I should have, just opened my Asian eyes just a little bit more. And I was kind of well, sucks to suck, but I missed a trade. I wasn't upset about it, but I was definitely man, that could have been 3R on the day. Would have been cool. Would have been more because I would have scaled in. So it would have been more 4 or 5R. But missed a trade idea. I was man, okay, sucks. However, while I was talking to ChatGPT, shout out ChatGPT, by the way, holy moly, something switched in my mindset, and was this. It was the overall monthly consistency. So I took a second to take a step back and look at my overall monthly performance, which was this, which is this, and reflecting back upon how my model performed the past month as an indicator that, hey, if I'm continuing to refine my model and remove the mistakes I was making last month, which was taking low probability trades, because it's so easy to look at a trade idea in hindsight and be like, oh, well, I would have made X amount of dollars. I would have made $600-700. I would have made, let's stay away from that number. I would have made $500 today. I would have made $1,500. I would have made X amount of dollars, right? However, that's because we see how the trade fully played out. If I would have gotten stopped out on this trade, I would not be saying anything. I wouldn't even be making this video. I wouldn't be saying anything about this because I would have known that, hey, it was outside of my model X, Y, and Z. Well, I probably would have made a video too because that's still important. But it's knowing that I'm approaching this month, focusing on refining the old habits, I guess, I used to do. Such as, or the low quality filters, I'm not sure, I used to not have. I'm not taking any more low probability trades. I'm focused on taking, medium to highest probability trade ideas and keeping my consistent risk, right? And if last month, my mindset is, if last month, this is how I performed, I was still profitable, my model still continued to print, despite the fact that I was trading outside of it, the fact that my model continued to print week after week, only for 1 week I took a loss, but week after week, with me breaking my rules, compared to me now following my rules, and I did the estimate now. I'm not focused on the P&L or anything, but this was just to give myself another confidence boost in trusting my model. 390, 400, let's just call it 400, is the lowest I ended up, let's not count this one, but is the lowest I ended up week after week. So let's say that's on my low end of how much money I'm making week after week. We'll just use last month's example. However, I'm just going to say, let's say it's all, each week ends green this month. That doesn't mean I don't have losing days throughout the month, but each week overall, based upon my scaling, my risk management, and my risk reward, ends green throughout each week. Of a low average of $400 a week, let's just pop that into calculator real quick. 2,100, or that's I'm so dumb. 2,400, 20, bro, read that as 2,600. Holy moly, I'm lagging. Holy, 1,600. I wasn't even close. I was 1,000 off, bro. Are we serious? Okay, so let's say 1,600 multiplied by 4 different accounts. That's still a $6,000 month. That's still a great month. And if I add that to my balance right now, 2,300. Oh my gosh. Just make it 2,400. 2,400 plus 1,600. No, this is for the month, not just for a week, for the month. My balance will be sitting. Did I do the math right? Yeah, will be sitting at $4,000 per account. That's a $12,000 total balance just because I decided to not focus on the short-term daily P&L, but to continue to allow my model to print day after day, regardless of win or loss, focusing on the overall monthly consistency and monthly performance, which would mean I'd be eligible for like an $8,000 payout, right? Even better. But that's just an example. Obviously, don't focus on the P&L. But the reason why I'm bringing it up is to double down and continue to emphasize focusing on the larger point of view, the larger picture, which is what is it? Which is focusing on your performance week by week and month by month rather than day by day, because it's so easy to get caught up in, oh, today was a red day, I'm not making progress, or this week I had a couple of red days, I'm not making progress. However, I mean, if you zoom out on the month and you're still not making progress, okay, that's an issue. But like for most of you, when you zoom out on the month, most of you can perform. However, I find a lot of the time we are hindering ourselves from fully maximizing our performance. What else? So, yeah, today was another nail in the coffin to enforce the fact that simply missing a day does not mean failing at my discipline. However, that does not mean I'm not going to reflect on today and continue to use it as a means to improvement moving forward. Bang. That's how you say it. That's how you say it. Good looks, good looks, good looks. Like good comms, good comms. What else? I'm looking at ChatGPT right now. Oh, and also, for you guys that don't know, yeah, I've been trading my model for 4 months now. Three and a half months now. Well, 4 months. 1 month in demo, 3 months live. So 4 months. But I'm still learning about my model. I'm still refining my model on how to consistently improve it. Like, I'm not, I haven't even fully mastered my own trading model yet. I know it works. I know it prints consistently. I know it prints year after year. However, pertaining to the live market and how I see the displacement happen and when I know I'm able to scale and how I know I'm able to trail my stops and draws and liquidity and, well, not draws and liquidity, but all the other things, I'm still, or well, entries in full clarity. I'm still refining my own personal understanding of it. I have more than understanding of it right now to be profitable with it and be consistent with it. However, I want to be better with it. Um, and that takes time. That takes experience with my model. Like I said earlier, I just recently last month, really the end of the month, and going into this month, learned how to properly scale. Originally, I was scaling in contracts and I had no idea what I was doing. I was just terrified. And over that whole month of seeing how my model reacts while I'm scaling, I learned how to mechanically maneuver scaling in additional contracts based upon how I've seen my model displaced to my draws and liquidity, which is a huge thing. Um, and I didn't know that 3 months ago or when I first approached my model. So it took time in order for me to actually understand these things or even have the experience right now to know, for example, today when to cancel my limit order because I knew if price action were to retrace, I would have gotten stopped out due to having the first initial strong displacement to the draw on liquidity and X, Y, and Z, all the other stuff, right? So I'm still learning about my model. I have this overnight oats jar I need to clean. Oh my goodness. But yeah. So remember, it takes time to fully understand your model. So don't beat yourself up. And I'm mainly saying this to myself. Don't beat yourself up about needing to have days where you don't execute and maybe you miss out on money or maybe you miss out on losing money, you know, and you take that time to journal, reflect, and refine. Everything I'm trying to post about is about reflecting and refining upon your model and focusing on the longer term effect of staying consistent and doing the things most traders don't do, because back testing is one thing, that's cool, but if you're not actually if you back test and then you approach the live market, you start trading with emotion, but then you start kind of filtering out a little bit, but you spend no time reflecting on where to improve or how to improve, and you're so fixated on your backtesting data or what your model can potentially print, or you're going month after month without reflection on, hey, this is what I did right this month, this is what I did wrong this month, this is how I should be approaching the next month to properly improve throughout the course of those 30 days or those 20 trading days, then I personally feel like you're not doing it right. Set your goals, or I would recommend for you, I mean, you don't need to, but I would personally recommend for you guys to set your goals based upon a monthly point of view. And don't set them based upon P&L. That could get really, really dicey. I used to do that. Don't do that. Set it based upon the things that you know will allow you to print. Then in turn having an effect, a positive effect on your P&L. Rather than I want to make 10K this month, focus on, hey, I want to continue to properly filter my trade ideas. I want to continue to execute on the highest probability setups and learn how to properly implement higher risk when I do take those setups compared to lower probability setups or mid probability setups. Or there's so many examples I can make. But there you go. There's an example. So it's focusing on your goals, your trading goals at least, with a bird's eye view, a monthly point of view, knowing that your daily performance, regardless of whether or not you're trading, will continue to compound. Also, I recommend you guys journal every single day. I originally thought it was over excessive, but even if you don't take a trade, journal it because you'll be able to look back at all of it and then, actually continue to build the confidence. Um, so yeah, that's a huge thing too. What else? What else? What else? Is that everything? Let me check my phone. Is that everything? Is that everything? Is that everything? Ring around the rosy. Oh yeah, I guess one more thing about learning about your model. I used to stay on the chart from, oh, I'm going to talk in PST time, then I'll talk in EST time. I used to stay on the chart from 6:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. So I used to stay on the chart, that's PST. I used to stay on the chart for my East Coast people from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And for my CST time people, I used to stay on the chart from 8:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. So I used to stay on the chart for 2 hours, sometimes 2.5 hours. However, I've slowly learned to realize, based upon trading my model, like I said before, you learn things as you continue to trade your model and how you specifically trade it. I realized I my model doesn't showcase real the highest probability entries after, I'm going to talk in EST time here, 10:15 a.m., 10:20 a.m. Usually by the time it's 10:30, so 7:30 PST, 9:30 CST, 10:30 EST. After those times, the probability of my model lowers significantly, mainly because I'm usually targeting the, how do I say this? The main drawn liquidity on the day. I guess that's how I'll say it. It's the easiest way to say it. So, and most oftentimes, 9 times out of 10, that drawn liquidity is either being traded toward or has already been traded toward, or sorry, traded to by that time. Now, that would really only mean one or two things. That either means I'm already in a trade position trading toward that drawn liquidity I found, continuing to hold that trade, or I'm already done trading. As simple as that. And by that 10:30 a.m. mark, I'm off the chart. And I've also figured that out by just simply trading my model, because I used to sit on the chart for 2 hours thinking I need to sit on the chart for 2 hours, and as I continue to trade my model and I seen the I guess reoccurrence of, hey, there's no more setups after, 11 a.m. Okay, no setups after 11 a.m. Okay, what about 10:45 a.m.? Okay, no setups after 10:45 a.m. Okay, how about 10:30? Okay, 10:30 is still kind of iffy, but I'm usually really off the chart. I'm already mentally clocked out by then because there's no more setups. Okay, how about from 10:30 to 10? Okay, well, I still get setups in that time frame, but I realize, okay, cool. No more setups usually after by 10:30, or if they are, they're much more lower probability. Um, and I could approach risk based upon that. And that's something I also figured out just by simply trading my model. So the main premise is allowing your model to do its thing, and allowing yourself to really reflect upon your model, how it's trading, how it's I don't know, but how it's continuing to develop, and how, oh my goodness, and how you're continuing to, I think I said enough today. Okay, anyways, love you guys. Thanks for watching. I. Blah, 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 blah.